Hey everybody, thanks for coming. My name is Ben Boral, and this is How Are Other Teams Doing It? Lessons in CI/CD from 3,500 Android teams. So this is your opportunity to escape right now and pretend like you're in the wrong place. There will be audience participation in this talk, so prepare yourself. Our goal today is that you leave this talk with at least one technique that you can apply in your CI/CD workflows for the apps that you're working on right now. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to look at all of these thousands of other organizations that are building their software on Bitrise and aggregate some data and look at some best practices. And you'll be able to form a basis for comparing how you're doing to the industry at large. And then hopefully by the end of it, you walk away with some actionable insight that you can apply to your projects. So we'll start off with a little bit about Bitrise. If you haven't heard of us, we're a CI/CD platform that is designed for the mobile use case. And so we support Android, iOS, all of the major cross-platform frameworks. And we do this, we're tailored for the mobile use case by having a step library with 300 plus out-of-the-box steps that you can compose your CI/CD workflows with super easily. These cover all of the major tasks that teams are doing in their CI/CD today. We have hosted build runners with all the mobile-specific tooling needed installed on them. And then we have app distribution tools, over-the-air app distribution for internal testing, automatic publishing to the Play Store, enterprise distribution, you name it. So that's Bitrise. And a little bit about me. Like I said, my name is Ben Boral. And I started out as an iOS developer, and I got into Android in 2015. I was working at retailmenot.com, and it's a coupon website. Also had mobile apps and was building some features for RetailMeNot. Prior to working at Bitrise, like most recently, prior to working at Bitrise, I was a tech lead at a little company called RxSaver that got acquired by GoodRx. It was a pharmaceutical savings app. And so I was responsible for all of the software delivery for iOS and Android at RxSaver. Got really into all this stuff. I'm in Austin, Texas, and before the pandemic, I organized the Austin Kotlin meetup, but we haven't really gotten our momentum back. And most recently, I've been working here at Bitrise for the past year, and I've been able to help dozens of mobile teams level up with how they're doing their CI/CD. So let's do it. Before we dive into the data, we'll do a little bit of 101 on CI/CD. So the first half, CI, is continuous integration. And there are really two components to this. There's like the cultural component of building that habit of regularly merging in small changes into your central repository or into your trunk branch. And then there's the tooling component, which is like your version control system and your platform for running all those automated checks. The CD part, continuous delivery, is this idea that we always have our code in a releasable state, and we have the automation set up to be able to effortlessly and safely release that code. And the benefits of doing this, well, we can, they're manifold, but we'll choose a few. They're increasing developer productivity. We're catching problems earlier. And by increasing the number of iteration cycles, we're innovating more frequently and having a positive impact on our app's success, whether that's like business impact or something else. So where is the data coming from for this talk? The first data source is the Mobile DevOps Assessment. And this is a self-assessment that teams can take. This was developed by us at Bitrise. We've had over 1,000 respondents so far, so we have a pretty nice collection of data. And it covers 5 areas. It covers the creation aspect of, or building a mobile app. There's testing, deploying, monitoring, and collaboration. So we ask teams to self-assess in these 5 areas. We have a number of questions that we ask, and then we're able to collect this data and sort of slice and dice and draw conclusions from it. Our respondents range from like solo developers to developers at companies with 5,000 plus employees, so it's the full range. And today is really like a sneak peek into that data. So we'll look at some aspects of it, but if you're interested in learning more about it, you can swing by our booth downstairs and talk with the team there about it. So then the other data source is the aggregated build data of all of the builds that are run on Bitrise today. And like in the title, you saw there are several thousand teams that are building Android apps on Bitrise, 100,000 plus contributors, 2 million builds or more a month. So we've been able to accumulate quite a bit of data to use and generate some interesting insights. And again, these are builds that are being done by everyone from solo devs to household names. So let's snoop on some of this data. Our first topic is build times. So raise your hand if you have a pretty good idea of how long builds take, let's say your PR builds for your app today. Cool. Most people in the room, that's good. Any brave audience members want to share how long their PR builds take today? You can just yell it out.
5 minutes.
Nice, 5 minutes. Anybody else? 5 to 10? 7.5. What's that? PR builds. Yeah. So this would be like the entire workflow that, let's say that you're publishing some status back into your code review tool. How long does it take for you to get that feedback from when you open the pull request to when that feedback comes back in?
What tests are you running though, right?
Well, yeah, different organizations are doing different things in their workflows, and so we're going to have a look at what different organizations are actually doing in these. So there is going to be variation.
Yeah, because, like someone said, it all depends on what you are involving in. Are you just doing link checks? Are you doing just, basic unit tests?
That's right.
Are you doing UI unit tests as well?
Yeah. So in case you couldn't hear, in the audience, he said It depends what you're doing in this workflow. Are you just doing lint checks? Are you just doing basic unit tests? What kind of tests or how many tests are you running? It could all cause these build times to vary. So that is totally true. And what I've done is aggregated across all the builds that people are running triggered by pull requests on Bitrise, and I've calculated the median PR build time, understanding that there's variation across organizations. And I have a prize. Throw out some numbers for what you think the median build time across all of the organizations building on Bitrise are.
72.3 minutes. 15 to 30 minutes.
Okay, so let's give this guy the prize, who said 15 to 30. It's actually 13 minutes. And this is Sam. Sam is my lovely assistant. He's going to come let you choose your prize. Yeah, you can't look. You just got to stick your hand in and grab one. Okay, you got some Groucho Marx glasses. Okay, so it doesn't tell you a lot. So if we can break it down a little bit more, and what we can see is like a lot of builds, like a third of builds are completing in under 10 minutes, and 2/3 of builds are completing in under 20 minutes. And then we sort of have this long tail that follows that. At Bitrise, what we're trying to do is push everyone as far to the left as possible. So providing the fastest possible build infrastructure, providing insights about what's taking long and what can be sped up. But as we discussed, every workflow is different, and the kind of information that we're trying to get out of these PR builds is different. We want to provide something useful in our code review tool, and that can be different depending on the team. Martin Fowler at ThoughtWorks has this quote, "Nothing sucks the blood out of a CI activity more than a build that takes a long time." So let's spend a few minutes and talk about some techniques that you can use to speed up your CI builds. And this is just one slide. We could talk for a long time about this, but we're just going to hit on the highlights. So the first thing you got to do is you have to measure, right? So you have to know where you're starting from. And there are different ways that you can do this. At Bitrise, we have a tool called Insights, which gives you data on how long your builds are taking, what your success rate is, and you can sort and filter that across multiple dimensions. And there are other commercial tools for getting this kind of information out of your build system. And then you can also use like open source tools. You can pipe that data into something like Grafana and build custom dashboards with that. And so a lot of different ways that you can do this, but really the first thing you got to do is you got to understand where you're at. Once you've done that, you can start to profile the performance of the tasks that you're running. Just one tool that I'm going to point out in this talk comes from Gradle, because as Android developers, probably almost everyone in this room is using Gradle. And so they have really cool Gradle profiler and Gradle build scans that will tell you things like how long each of your Gradle tasks and their subtasks are taking, and also it'll show you like what is happening serially and what's happening in parallel, and so you can really explore that to identify like what kind of optimizations you can make to your Gradle project, like modularizing your repo so that more tasks can be run in parallel. It will provide a lot of really useful suggestions on how to get great performance speed-ups. But obviously, this is going to depend on the tools that you use, and that's just one example. The other thing I'll point out is the Android docs are really spectacular. There's a super lengthy doc page just on optimizing build time, and it goes into like tons of different tactics that you can use to speed up your builds. So just Google like optimize your build Android docs, and it'll probably be the first result, but there are tons of actionable tips within the Android docs. So they've done a really nice job with that. And then caching is like going to be your friend, both in CI and locally. It'll help you have incremental builds that are much faster. And you can do this at a basic level, like caching your Gradle dependencies in your home directory. You can also look at the build directory inside of your repository, and you can also start to use other third-party tools, adding on to your build. A lot of directions that you can take caching to speed your builds up. And then finally, choosing your hardware wisely. So when I talk to customers, like I've heard a few themes from those customers. One of them is that like, the iOS team set up this like Mac Mini farm in our office, and so yeah, we're just running our builds on that because it was there. And then I've also heard like, there's a shared Kubernetes cluster that like some ops team set up for the entire Eng org, and so Android builds are just running on that shared infrastructure. But those are probably missed opportunities for performance improvements. One of the things that we've done at Bitrise, or we do regularly, is benchmarking reference apps against different hardware, and then selecting the right hardware that is sort of gets the customer the most bang for the buck in terms of how much does it cost to run on it and what are the speed improvements. So if you haven't experimented with where your builds are running, there could be big opportunities there. So our next little game, so unit testing, definitely like a best practice that we should all probably be doing, but maybe not every team that took our self-assessment is doing it. So, unit tests are great because they're small and super fast, so you get that quick feedback. And, you'll know immediately whenever somebody broke something. It also encourages just good practices in terms of writing modular code that can facilitate those unit tests. So let's hear some guesses. This is from the Mobile DevOps Assessment. What percentage of respondents do you think are using unit testing today in their CI builds?
65.
Who said 90? All right, okay, we're going to have a repeat winner because it's 86%. Who said 6%? Okay. So I'll just do another like kudos to Google and to the Android team there, because they have really great docs on testing best practices. It's in like the official documentation, but then they also have some good code labs that teach this stuff. There's also, this one might not be as well known. They have a GitHub repo. It's at github.com/android/testing samples. And it's just like a bunch of sample code on how to write tests for different things. So that's worth some time just perusing. So they've done a really fantastic job of pushing the community forward, and you can see that in that number. Another kind of testing, snapshot testing. So who's using snapshot testing in their apps today? Okay, so we got some hands in the back, but not a ton of people. I think this is really cool stuff. So when I started out in the software world, I was a manual QA tester, and I was really great at, like noticing whenever the UI changed and it didn't really look quite right. And obviously, at that time, computers were pretty crappy at that. The best that you could do was like take a screenshot and then do like a pixel to pixel, one-to-one comparison to see if there were any changes in a UI. But we've come a long way since then. So of course, as a manual tester, even though I was really good at it, I was slow. Computer could be a lot faster. And so snapshot testing automates this detection of visual regressions. And the way that this works is you have your UI test suite, whether that's like Espresso or UI Automator, Appium, whatever. And whenever you first implement a feature, you take some screenshots, and this actually generates an image file. And then every time you run your UI test suite again, it's going to take another screenshot, and it's going to compare it to that original one. And if there is a difference, then it's going to say there's a visual regression here, and this test will fail. And the tools have gotten sophisticated enough that they're not going to fail if just like one pixel is out of place. Like they can be somewhat smart about it. You can define regions that you care about and regions that you don't care about. And so now you don't have to have a slow manual tester like I used to be. You can just run this stuff in your automated tests, so you can run them a lot more frequently, run them more quickly. So that is snapshot testing, and let's hear some guesses, except for our friend in row 4. 2%? Okay, this guy is very pessimistic back here. Oh, who said 25? Okay, so we got a winner. So this is from our mobile DevOps self-assessment, and I heard a couple of people saying wow, and I was also kind of surprised. It seemed really high to me, but I got to say, what was the prize? The chattering teeth. Nice. So this is something that's coming up a lot more as I talk to customers who are building on Bitrise, and I think this is a practice which is really gaining momentum within the community. So if you want to adopt snapshot testing into your test suite, there are commercial tools, and that's my experience with snapshot testing is with one of the commercial tools. And the cool thing with that is that there's like some AI built into it, so it can be really smart about deciding whether or not something is truly a regression or whether it's acceptable. There are also open source libraries that you can integrate into your project. Let's see. Oh yeah. Also, Espresso has like a screenshotting API built into it, which is kind of cool. So you can use it for snapshot testing, but you can also use it to like automate taking screenshots for your Play Store presence and things like that. So I figured I would just mention that. Here's a fun one. So raise your hand if you've got like some Slack notifier that's in your CI workflows today that like alerts you whenever you had a failed build or successful build or something. Nice. Okay, so a lot of people have this. That's great. Any guesses? I'm pulling this number now out of our aggregated build data on Bitrise. The percentage of Android builds in the last month who have used this step. Oh, I'm not hearing anybody getting close yet. We got, huh? No, we got to go down a little bit. Who said 40? 40? Okay. Were there were two people? Okay, we're going to get two prizes. Let's start over here. I hope I don't run out. Okay. So what'd you get?
Magic poo.
Magic poo. Okay. So while we're doing the next prize, it's 38%. And what did he get, Sam? Okay, a nose that's a pencil sharpener. Okay, so yeah, 38% is kind of low. It's like, come on, y'all, like this is like fun little automation stuff. This is super fun. So I'm glad to know that most people in this room have it. But yeah, I like this stuff because it helps you think more expansively about like what you can be doing in your builds and like what kind of information you can be providing to different people. So you can also take this further and do like, you can run Danger. Danger is like sort of a code review. It can check your code, check your pull requests for that they're correctly formatted. It can run any sort of check that you really want, and then post that feedback back into your code review tool. So that's a great one, and it's just like there's a lot of information that comes out of these builds, and where can you share it? And just generally speaking, like if you are finding yourself whenever there's a failed build, having to log in to wherever, whatever your CI provider is and do a bunch of clicks to get to the information that you're looking for, like you probably don't need to do that. You can probably automate, sharing some stack trace or like screenshot with a, failed build or something like that. So nice quality of life thing. Next one is pipeline as code. So raise your hand if you're committing your CI workflow definitions into your repository as code today. Okay, I would say like a little over half. There are two ways that you can define your CI pipelines, CI/CD pipelines. You can do it in a central UI, or you can define it in code, most frequently as a YAML file, and commit that to your repository. And it's really like a part of this bigger trend of other things as code as well, like, most commonly infrastructure as code, and generally trying to be declarative in the way that we define our infrastructure and our CI/CD. And it comes with some benefits. So whenever you're committing your CI workflow definition as code, then immediately anyone with access to your repository has access to how that is configured, and they can review that and try and understand it. It also means that you can put a code review process in front of making changes. And then, of course, you get that audit log that comes with the Git history of all the changes that are being made. Another nice thing when it comes to CI/CD is that if you want to experiment with making changes to your workflow, you can just open a new branch and then make changes to it on that branch. And you're not going to affect everybody else with a centrally defined pipeline or workflow definition you would. There are some cons. If you've done this, you have to learn this stupid YAML syntax, and that's always annoying. And then sometimes you can get into like a sort of an annoying loop of making a change, committing it, pushing it up. Maybe like your YAML was like invalid YAML, and there's a typo somewhere, and you're like, why isn't my build running? And so then you got to find the problem, commit again, push it up. So at Bitrise, we support both, and we try and also solve for that. Well, we do solve for the problems, which is that we have a CLI tool that can validate your YAML files locally. You can run workflows locally, and so you can iterate quickly by making changes to your workflow locally, running them, and then deciding, okay, yeah, this is good, or it's not, and making another change. And then we also have a graphical workflow editor that abstracts away the implementation details of that YAML syntax, and you can use that both locally or on the website. So, any guesses on the number of builds? Let's see. No, let me make sure I get this right. On the number of Android organizations that have built in the past month who have their pipeline defined as code. 49%. Okay, let's give it to 25. It's kind of low. It's 12%, and I think probably attributable to the fact that a lot of it's super easy to get things set up on a GUI editor, and then you just sort of set it and forget it. So, all right, Sam's given the prize. What was the prize?
The chicken.
Oh, it was a little wind-up chicken. All right. Okay, so static analysis. This is a kind of a big topic. We're going to lump a few things together, but so this could be like linting or security, static analysis checks. Any guesses on the percentage of survey respondents who say they're using static analysis in their CI builds? This is Android. Any other guesses?
60. Maybe 50.
All right, let's give it to the person who said 60. It's actually 69%. Is this our last prize?
No,
We got one more? Okay. Silly putty. All right, always a classic. So static analysis really could mean a lot of things. We're really saying any sort of automatic analysis that you're running before your code is running. And we can do different things with this. We can enforce code style, we can catch bugs, try and catch bugs, identify security vulnerabilities, evaluate code quality. And this is great because it's really fast. You get fast feedback. It takes away some of these unproductive PR conversations by just automating certain checks like the code style type stuff. It's less error prone. It's not going to miss things that a human might. And it can be more expansive than what a human would be able to detect whenever they're reviewing code. It can do things that humans can't, like calculate cyclomatic complexity. This is like basically a free way to improve your app quality. It really should be 100%. There are a handful of really nice static analysis tools. I've just chosen a few of them that are going to be like generally applicable. And the first one is the lint task that you get for free from the Android Gradle plugin, which is really focused on Android-specific quality. So if you have the Android Gradle plugin in your app today, you can use this Gradle task, and it's going to do things for you like identify performance layout problems. It's going to flag unused resources that are just bloating your app. It'll identify accessibility problems, internationalization problems, find hard-coded strings and missing content descriptions, things like that. And it's super configurable, so there's a nice doc page in the official Android docs for it. Something to just point out if you're not like reading release notes all the time, have a look at updating your Android Gradle plugin version to 7.1 or higher. And 7.1 came out earlier this year. And the reason why, there are two reasons. The first is that this lint task, prior to I think 7, when you would run Gradle lint, it would actually run lint for every single variant of your app. And so it would rerun for the same code, the same lint tasks, and just waste time. And so what they've done is change the default behavior to now only run it for the debug variant. And that way it's not going to just do duplicated work. But the other cool thing with the most recent version is that they're now, that the task is now caching a lot of its work in the build directory in your project, at the top level of your project, that Gradle build directory with build cache now includes lint cache as well, so incremental runs on that are going to be super fast. The next tool, KT lint, like not a lot to say here because it's not very configurable, but that's kind of the point. It's just all about enforcing code style in your app, and that's a nice one. Detect is the other really cool static analysis tool. It, in addition to like code style, it's going to help you with code quality. So it's going to calculate cyclomatic complexity. It's going to flag possible bugs and identify performance bottlenecks in your code. And that one is super modular, so like you can decide what checks you want it to run and configure it that way. It has a huge library of different checks that you can use in your app. And of course, KT lint and detect are just for Kotlin. So this is usage for our out-of-the-box Android Gradle plugin lint step and our out-of-the-box detect step. There's my little disclaimer at the bottom is like, I'm probably undercounting here because like this could be run just through a generic Gradle task or like a shell script. But so take these numbers with a grain of salt, but 22% of Android builds run with that lint task and just 4% with detect. So these are some areas that I think teams should look at integrating into their builds. And then our last one, well, we're going to finish with, my phone is ringing. We're going to finish with publishing to the Play Store. So the last app that I worked on, we didn't have this automated, and it was always like, I would always get nervous whenever I had to actually log in to the Google Play console because I was afraid I was going to click the wrong button and like release the wrong thing or upload the wrong file. So there's really a risk to not having this automated. And there's not really an excuse because Google Play has an API that makes this super easy. Bitrise has an out-of-the-box step that talks to the Google Play Store API and does this for you. You can do things like adjusting the rollout percentage and things like that. So there's a lot of control that you can have. You can decide which release channel, like alpha, beta, production, you want things to go to. So percentage, let's see, what are we're looking at? Yeah, percentage of Android projects in Bitrise today that are automating publishing to the Google Play Store using our out-of-the-box steps. Last guess, last prize of the day. Okay, who said 18? All right, we got a winner. So it's 19%. I'm not capturing necessarily those people who are doing it with a fast lane step, so we're probably undercounting. But this is another one where it's like, you should probably be doing this. And so, yeah, that was it. I hope that you were able to take at least one thing out of this, that you'll be able to have a look at your workflows today and find some improvements. And you have a little bit of homework. All right, so you got to come to the Bitrise after party. That's tomorrow night at 7 p.m. And you can get your wristband at our booth downstairs. So it's at the Emporium. Free drinks, free dinner. It'll be fun. And then, yeah, come by the booth, get your wristband for the after party, learn a little bit about the mobile DevOps assessment. And again, this is something where you'll do a self-assessment, you'll answer these questions, and then you'll be able to calibrate, like, how's your team doing compared to your industry peers? So I think it's a pretty cool thing to do. And get some free swag. And then finally, give a little love to your CI/CD. See what kind of cool things you can do with it. And that's it. So thank you, everybody.